Have you ever woken up after a seemingly normal night's sleep, gone through a perfectly ordinary day, and yet by like 3 p.m. you feel like your battery is literally at 2%? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to methodically examine exactly why you constantly feel like you're running on empty. We're going to look at the invisible and honestly slightly unsettling architecture of your daily routine. So look closely at your typical daily routine for a second and ask yourself a pretty uncomfortable question. Is your exhaustion actually a personal failure? Or is it the highly predictable result of a hidden system you don't even realize you're a part of? You know, we tend to blame our own lack of willpower, but the data points is something else entirely. A gradual shift from what feels like a completely normal life to the quiet, creeping awareness of a machine just breaking down. To really understand this, we need to borrow a concept from video games, a debuff. Now, a debuff is basically a hidden status effect that quietly drains a system's health, its resources, and its performance over time, completely without the player even realizing it's happening. And today, we're going to uncover the invisible debuffs in your actual real life. These are the unconscious, seemingly harmless, and incredibly repetitive habits that are just quietly draining your physiological and psychological resources day in and day out.
Let's start with something you're doing right this very second. Notice your jaw right now. Are your lips slightly parted? Because if you're mouth breathing, you're currently starving your brain of oxygen. It's wild, but according to clinical reviews, nasal breathing actively enhances your brain's default mode network, which is absolutely crucial for proper attention and self-awareness. Oral breathing, on the flip side, decreases your blood oxygen saturation and actively alters your brain's neural activity. It specifically impairs regions like your hippocampus. Clinical reviews, like this fascinating one from the Turkish Thoracic Society, show that oral breathing leads to distinct, impaired cerebral activity patterns during cognitive tasks when compared to nasal breathing. During working memory tasks, people who breathe through their mouths literally show diminished power in brainwaves and altered functional connections. It effectively installs this persistent, low-level mental fog over your entire day. You feel a bit slower, maybe a bit more confused, but you have absolutely no idea why.
Now, this systemic drain extends way beyond just how you breathe, all the way to how you exist in physical space. Think about the number 8 hours. That's the amount of time so many of us spend sitting at a desk or strapped into a car every single day. And according to data analyzed by the Mayo Clinic, which encompassed over 1 million people, by the way, sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day with zero physical activity carries a mortality risk that's mathematically similar to the risks posed by obesity and smoking.
Because sitting isn't just resting, it's actually a sedentary glitch. The simple, compliant act of just sitting at a desk quietly rewires your metabolism into a state of decay. As you just sit there, your blood pressure increases, your blood sugar spikes, your body starts to store excess visceral fat around your waist, and your cholesterol shifts into unhealthy levels. And maybe more importantly for your day-to-day experience, it physically slows down the circulation of happy hormones and vital oxygen that are meant for your brain.
But surely your home is a safe haven from all this, right? Well, not exactly. Even your physical environment can be quietly hostile. A landmark study analyzed dual-income families and found that visual clutter in a home acts as this persistent background stressor. Specifically, women who perceived their homes as cluttered had higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol, which led to more depressed moods as the day progressed. So your unorganized living room is literally altering your daily hormonal patterns and increasing your emotional exhaustion.
And it doesn't stop there. Even your convenient food choices are subtly altering your base code. A 2025 study from Cell Metabolism took men and put them on 2 completely different diets, strictly matching the calories. And here's the crazy part. Even when the calories were exactly the same, the ultra-processed diet caused the men to inexplicably gain a kilogram of fat mass. It also caused a decline in their follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH, and a downward trend in sperm motility. So fast, cheap food is quietly reshaping your metabolism and your fertility behind the scenes.
Now, couple these profound hormonal shifts with something as seemingly harmless as, say, forgetting to drink a glass of water. You know your brain is mostly of water. When you run low, everything just grinds to a halt. Just mild dehydration induces an entirely preventable drop in your short-term memory, your focus, and your overall mood. So you aren't intrinsically sad or forgetful. Your brain is literally just parched, struggling to execute basic baseline functions.
And this physical decay is heavily compounded by your mental environment. 35,000, that is the estimated number of trivial decisions you are forced to make every single day. What to wear, what to eat, what to listen to. Your brain is basically like a courtroom, and every single decision requires time and energy. You are constantly backlogging the judge and jury with entirely frivolous cases.
This relentless decision fatigue acts exactly like a background app, silently draining a smartphone battery. Throughout the morning, your cognitive resources peak, but by midday, as you make choice after choice after choice, your glucose and willpower begin to heavily deplete. By the time you finally reach the evening, your brain's capacity for self-regulation and self-control has hit its absolute minimum. You're essentially running on an empty tank of cognitive control.
And that empty tank leads us directly to the psychological breaking point. It's called the rebellion loop. You feel so trapped by this rigid daytime system, the long hours, endless decisions, the constant sitting, that your only response is what researchers call revenge bedtime procrastination. You intentionally destroy your own restorative sleep just to endlessly scroll or watch TV, all to feel a brief, kind of desperate illusion of control over your own time. And then obviously you repeat the cycle the very next day, but starting with a much, much lower baseline.
The penalties for this nighttime rebellion are mathematically severe. Curtailing your sleep by just a few hours a night results in massive double-digit drops in your mental capacity. We're talking a 17% reduction in critical thinking and a 13% drop in working memory. In students, it literally drops their overall grade point average. You are actively trading your brain's functional processing power for just a few hours of distracted, mindless entertainment. So you sit there in the dark, seeking some form of relaxation, but the glow of that screen is a false comfort. You're bathing your eyes in toxic blue light that artificially stimulates your brain, completely delaying your natural wind-down process. MRI scans actually reveal that chronic sleep restriction from habits exactly like this reduces the cortical thickness in your frontal lobes. That's the very area of your brain essential for attention and complex processing. Your memory consolidation is just quietly, systematically being dismantled.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. As you prepare for tomorrow, you really have to ask yourself, how many of your habits are actually free choices? And how many are simply the inevitable symptoms of a machine quietly breaking down? From the way you breathe, to the chair you sit in, to the screen you stare at in the dark. Is it you, or is it the invisible debuffs running in the background?